My friends, the time has come to speculate on the heroes from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I kind of already did this when the teaser came out, but now we've got solid information on the 2 box heroes, and we've got the silhouettes for the 4 wave heroes coming up. So that's pretty exciting. So when it comes to the ones we've had confirmed, Maria Hill and Nick Fury, I'm going to be talking about what I think their mechanics might be, that kind of thing. And then we're going to speculate a bit more on who the upcoming heroes are after them. Let's talk about heroes, and let's start with Maria Hill. So she is a very famous ally, maybe the most famous ally, maybe tied with Nick Fury, but hey, they're both here. 2 forwarding, 1 attack, that could be her stat line. Response draws a card. She's probably going to have some form of card draw in her kit. A lot of heroes do, but I don't know if they're going to build around that too much. Do I have heard it, sort of theorized, maybe she'll just be a complete support hero. And I think there is some support for the support theory, because she has this little line of text included in the article where they revealed her. It says Maria Hill comes from a pre-built leadership deck, and her playstyle revolves around her unique position as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Directing S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of means directing, the agents, things like that, coordinating things, in my opinion, and that could be really support-oriented. And I think the obvious kind of place to go to is multi-aspect, and maybe because it's the obvious place to go to, we shouldn't go there, but it could be, include S.H.I.E.L.D. allies from any aspect, or S.H.I.E.L.D. events from any aspect, or S.H.I.E.L.D. supports. I don't think it'll just be all S.H.I.E.L.D. It could be limited to a certain amount, kind of Gamora style for attacks and forwarding. I have no idea. I don't even know if that's what it will be, but director of S.H.I.E.L.D. really means kind of, coordinating S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be something that's to interact with more S.H.I.E.L.D. in more of a meaningful way, or more of a way that relies on them than most characters. That is almost guaranteed. So one of the ways they could do it, that me and Nelson sort of speculated on in our live reaction, is that maybe she could include support cards from all of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then she could have all of these sort of team cards, like Med Team, Command Team, Tag Team. They all have the S.H.I.E.L.D. trait in the game, and so maybe she could take all of them. And this is, I think, reinforced slightly by the campaign mechanics in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box, which feature the tactical and medical officers, which have sort of effects which mimic the team. So the medical officer heals, like the med team. The surveillance officer removes threat, like the surveillance team. The team effects seem to be on the designer's mind, so this wouldn't surprise me if it was this. But it could honestly be allies. It could also be events, because I think Homeland Intervention and Global Logistics are kind of the epitome of, a director of S.H.I.E.L.D., organizing, what the spies are doing, setting them out on operations, kind of that thing. And, even the flavor text on Homeland Intervention, I just think it kind of makes sense. So maybe she could have, S.H.I.E.L.D. traded events from any aspect if they introduce some more with her that maybe interact with, the different things for aggression, for leadership, that kind of thing. Maybe. I don't know. But that's kind of where my mind has gone. Beyond that, it's a little bit hard to say. I don't think she's going to have a lot of hit points. I think 9 hit points is a fairly safe bet here, unless there's something about her I don't know. She does have a pistol in this picture and in the box art for the expansion. So yeah, she's probably going to have a weapon, or maybe, in her precon maybe. But, considering it's featured twice for her, I think maybe in her kit makes sense. But we'll see. Because the expansion features a new keyword, the vulnerable keyword, which I'll talk about a little bit actually when we talk about Nick Fury. I've got some ideas around that, but it wouldn't surprise me if her or her precon included more stuns or confuse of some nature. The box heroes do tend to be pretty good and sort of almost built for, in a way, the sort of campaign books they came with, except Galaxy's Most Wanted, which we won't talk about. Nick is up next, and yeah, I know his ally card is definitely the most famous. 2 fort, 2 attack, those could mirror his stats, but I wouldn't be 100% sure of that. Shield and spy traits, I feel like those are both a given, and he's got that forced response where, he does multiple things, and I think it was Get Up and Game in my Discord server who said maybe he'll have like a multi-gun style item, maybe that's the stealth suit, which gives him like options to remove threat, draw a card, or deal damage, that kind of thing, like his forced response. Personally, I'm not 100% sure if they're going to lean into this or not. I could see one card referencing it as it's so like iconic, but I don't know if they're going to build it into, in detail. Maybe though, I really couldn't say. Obviously, they'd maybe balance it slightly more because the card draw from the ally version just kind of eclipses everything else in most circumstances. Then the damage, and the forwarding is really like an emergency option. So yeah, not super desirable in general, but we'll see what they do with that. I am intrigued because we have the article and it says he's a master of mitigating threat, and that makes me think just beyond his Justice deck, he's going to be quite a strong forwarding character to start with. And he says he has a specialized stealth suit that lets him pull off some impressive stunts. What the heck is an impressive stunt in Marvel Champions? To my mind, it's not, I have a tough card, I heal a little bit, or, I draw a card. To me, that's doing something exciting, like pushing the game forward in a way, probably defeating minions, defeating side schemes, hitting the villain, something like that. It's going to be something kind of flashy and impactful is what I'm thinking, or maybe I'm just reading too much into the wording here. But the specialized stealth suit sounds like it's going to be a big part of his kit, maybe even a setup card. I'm pretty sure that's what he's like wearing in the art on these cards and, you know, things. So I'm curious to see how that works. I think the emphasis on stealth and mitigating threat, it makes me think going alter ego, because there's a scenario in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Batroc scenario they previewed, where you kind of are trying to sneak around and avoid the alert level. One of the ways to help do that against the villain is to be alter ego. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because Nick Fury always leaves play as an ally, you know, at the end of the round, you discard him. What if at the end of the round, he went to alter ego form? So he could always, you know, end up back there, guaranteed. Maybe that could be a fun thing, and that represents him, you know, sort of going sort of into the shadows again. I don't know, but I really kind of like that. And there's kind of a precedent for characters designed by Tony, which is the lead designer on this project, for a character that can go to alter ego really quite often. Which is Deadpool, because, you know, he gets punched in the face by the villain and, oh, you're alter ego rather than getting defeated. That happens quite often with him. Now, let's talk about that vulnerable keyword again, because this kind of represents, you know, a minion being defeated by like a stealth takedown, you know, not strictly just, you know, fighting them hit point to hit point. It means that when the character is stunned or confused, that character gets discarded. It's on one of the new minions, one of the guards in that second, you know, stealth scenario. And if Nick Fury has a stealth suit and he's stealthing around, maybe he can apply vulnerable to other minions, and then he can, you know, take them out quietly. I think that'd be fantastic. So maybe it's something on his hero card. Maybe he's got cards which do it, you know, apply vulnerable to this minion. Could be an attachment. This minion, you know, gains vulnerable. And then maybe he's got some good way of stunning or confusing minions that is going to really knock them out. Maybe confusing them, because that would work if he keeps going alter ego. I don't know, but if I was a designer, you know, I feel like this is where I'm starting to go with the design. But this could be just really interesting. I really hope there's something in the aspect cards, at least, if not in the signature cards or something, that interacts with vulnerable and can expand it to the rest of the game. Because I just think it would be a huge missed opportunity if they didn't. It seems so good and thematic. I love the stealth takedowns. Let's let Black Widow, the hero, use covert ops to confuse a minion and defeat it, you know, so she can do a stealth takedown. I think that's so cool. Some of the other cards that sort of revolve around stealth-like antics already in the game, we have Disguise that came with Jubilee, Breaking and Entering that came with Gambit, Covert Ops, which I just mentioned for Black Widow, and Surprise Attack, which, did that come with Wasp? I think that came with Wasp. And these are good cards. They're kind of interesting. I don't know if he'll need them or not, but I could totally see him, you know, coming with, you know, a copy of Disguise, or, you know, coming with new copies of Breaking and Entering. He has a Justice Precon. I would be a little bit sad if we got reprints for these so soon, because we just had them in the Mutant trilogy. I think there are reprints I would want more, but for the stealth theme, for the spy theme, these make an incredible amount of sense. We've also got Espionage, which is a preparation card, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the episode, the video. But yeah, these could definitely be something that either they take inspiration from for Nick Fury's kit, or with the Justice cards, maybe he could come with them. And if he does, you know, end up going to alter ego and then, you know, is able to flip the hero for more often than the average character, the form changing cards, just from a deck building perspective, might make a lot of sense. So yeah, who knows? The last real point I have for Nick Fury is he's got guns, and in the box art he has 2, and in his hero card art he has 1, and the gun's like a little bit different here. You know, you can see on the hero card art, it's got this like little bit coming off the barrel. It's just slightly different, but it is very reminiscent. So it could just be different artists' interpretation of the same sort of weapon, and it's just varied very slightly. The ending of the weapon is like so similar. Probably the same one. I initially thought, you know, part of his coat coming off, you know, when I didn't see in quite so much detail, you know, made the gun in his sort of hero art look a bit different. But yeah, he's definitely going to have at least, I got to say, 2 pistols, you know, in his hero kit. Or maybe they are aspect cards, because you can see Maria Hill kind of has the same one here. So maybe that is a new aspect card, basic card, you know, some kind of new pistol weapon. Hopefully it's not just a reprint of Plasma Pistol with new art. But, you know, you never know. But weapon support could be really fun, and there are some heroes that we're going to speculate on that I think could really lean into weapons as well, which would make so much sense for this wave. We have had a weapons drought since Galaxy's Most Wanted, which introduced most of them, so I think it'd be really fun to get some more of those. Then we have the silhouettes, and I'm really, really excited to talk about these. I have honestly, you know, struggled a bit with these myself, but through, you know, the chat from Nelson's live stream, a couple of people messaging me on Discord, a bit of Discord discussion, I feel pretty confident I know who 3 of these are, and the one I am least certain of is actually the second one, so I'm going to save that one till last. And I will say we have had a bit of a clue as well here. What they said in the article is there are 4 hero packs, which makes sense, that's normal, featuring a mixture of shield members and a couple of surprises, which makes me think 2 shield heroes, 2 non-shield heroes. And that's going to be really interesting to sort of figure out who is who. So let's start with that left silhouette, which I'm very, very confident on. This is Shuri. The hair, the earrings, everything makes sense, and I think she would be such a cool addition to the game. We can see this even further already in Marvel Champions when we compare the sort of hair and earrings on her signature ally version as, Black Panther's signature ally. It's just a perfect match, basically, here. I'm assuming in hero form she will be a different version of Black Panther. She has had that title in the comics, and they don't have to go that route, which is really interesting, so maybe not. But if they did, maybe she could come with her own Black Panther upgrades, because as a signature ally, she's all about finding upgrades. So sticking with the Black Panther upgrades seems like a theme they could kind of riff on a bit more, but maybe she activates them in a different way. Instead of a Wakanda Forever event, maybe she has some kind of, counters she can spend to trigger them. I have no idea. Spend more counters, trigger more of them, get a bigger sequence. I have no idea. But what I'm excited for maybe, and I kind of came to this idea by thinking about how could they support the Wakanda trait for, T'Challa Black Panther? What if there is a Black Panther upgrade in basic or one of the aspects, or, a mixture or something? Now you could build, at least one new upgrade into T'Challa Black Panther that would breathe a lot of new life into him, I think, and just make, setting him up with his different things a little bit more efficient, a little bit more flexible and interesting. So I don't know, that's what I'm hoping for. Maybe that's crazy. Beyond that, I don't think I've got too much to speculate on. She's got the Genius trait as a signature ally. She got that big brain. I think the hero is definitely going to have the Genius trait, at least, on Alter Ego. So, get your Moon Girls at the ready. And yeah, let's move on to the next one. And skipping the second one because I'm a bit uncertain, let's go to the third one, who I am more certain of. About 80 to 90% certain that this is Falcon, aka Sam Wilson. Could be the Captain America version. And I'm not sure which they're going to go for here. The silhouette doesn't have a ton to work with, but I think that is a, typically male physique. You see it's like wearing a hoodie, but the hood is down. And if the hood is down, that's going to be his actual head, that we see, not like a mask, not like anything else covering it. And it's clearly short hair, but it doesn't seem like it's, completely cropped or something. It seems to me somewhat reminiscent of the art we can see for Sam Wilson in both the cards on the screen, maybe. So I feel like pretty confident it's Sam. And with the upcoming movie, it would seem to make sense, Captain America, Brave New World. I think they changed the name. We got the Thunderbolts in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we got the Thunderbolts movie coming as well. So it just seems smart to also tie into it this way, even if they're not, officially doing it. The timing is going to be pretty nice in terms of marketing. I would say that, I think if they go for the Falcon version, it'll be a little bit more aerial leaning. So it's, Captain America, maybe a bit more of the shield and things like that. But it could definitely obviously still have a lot of aerial interaction. And I don't quite know how they're going to do that. The Falcon ally looks at the encounter deck. That could be really fun, scouting it out from above. If they do go for aerial, they could do something like Angel, though I hope it's not exactly the same, like, response, do this thing. For my money, I think it's going to be the Captain America Falcon. And I was about 50-50 on this. I really actually think the Falcon version of him is very iconic. But the Captain America one, we've got the movie coming up. But, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Captain America version, has a shield. It's not the same thing. But it kind of makes sense. But the final clue for me, and this came when I was looking up the rules around Black Widow and, could a hero fight a villain and so on and so forth with the same name and that. I was looking at the unique rules, and it has this example. In a Marvel setting, blah, 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 multiple people, same title. For example, more than one person can bear the title of Captain America, but there's only one Steve Rogers. The only opportunity that we're probably going to have anytime, anywhere soon, to make good with this exact example would be when Sam Wilson really is entering the game, in my opinion. So I just got this really good feeling it's going to be Captain America Sam Wilson. The final silhouette, I think, is going to be Winter Soldier, and I had no idea. I mean, I definitely had a lot of help with this one, but Deadwolf, people in the live reaction, when me and Nelson did that, they say, hey, Winter Soldier's got a cat, and okay, that makes a lot of sense, because what looks to be on the back of this silhouette is a cat. I initially actually thought maybe it's Kate Bishop, because I could see the, something coming off the back. Maybe it could be a quiver of arrows. Then I was like, there's a kind of a curve across the top. Is it a moon? Is it Moon Knight? I had no idea. I was so out. You can clearly see there's like a curve, like, and there's fur. It's like, it's a cat. People have said Black Cat. Personally, I think that's a little bit less likely. I just think this character makes so much sense with the theme of this wave quite a bit. He's got the spy thing going on, and he has a cat. It's called Alpine. It's amazing. I looked up some pictures, and he does need to like tuck the cat in, take it around with him a bit. That cat gets out and about. So just having it on his back is pretty funny and makes a lot of sense. So that's what I'm going for here. I do think, there's maybe an argument that, this is someone else, or that, he is actually maybe the second silhouette, which we'll look at in a minute. But for me, I just really think this actually does match him perfectly. And the absence of his left arm, which is his metal arm, his sort of trademark, being kind of absent here makes me think there's, that's a reason, there's kind of related. Now, we have him already in the game as a signature ally for Black Widow. Not my favorite art, I'm afraid, but he's got 240, 2 attack, and those stats are kind of similar to Captain America. I could see him having those stats as well, probably 2 defense at the same time. And the Vengeance Spy trait, I think that makes sense, but I think he could also have the Soldier trait. The clue is in, the name of Winter Soldier. And as a signature ally for Black Widow, he interacts with preparations. That could just be because Black Widow is a preparation character, and they wanted the signature ally to tie into it. The rogue ally in Gambit does interact with his attack charge counters, but as a hero, she doesn't have anything to do with attack charge counters. So, it's not an exact clue here, but I do think he's a great candidate to play with more preparation cards in the future, especially because we've got espionage, which I mentioned earlier, which is a preparation, which works, if you are a spy. And that would all just fit so perfectly here. So I definitely think that's something they could do for Winter Soldier. And I also think, weapons make a lot of sense. Every time I hear Winter Soldier talked about, I have heard him talked about with preparations. This goes, a lot of people across years will talk about the game. People have wanted Winter Soldier for a long time. And yeah, he's got a lot of weapons as well. I think that makes so much sense. So maybe along with Nick and different characters, maybe we'll get some of that included. Fingers crossed. At worst, maybe it's a reprint of hand cannon, but we will see. Probably a good time to say I will speculate on what aspects these characters will come with at the end, once I've kind of established who I think all of them are going to be. So I think that could affect the way the aspects are distributed. So let's get on to that final one here. This final silhouette. I mean, this could be Winter Soldier. I think the hair kind of fits as well. But when I look at this, I think there are some differences. The shoulder here looks slimmer to me. The wrist looks a little bit slimmer. The kind of, shadows at the bottom kind of like some kind of draping cloth. I kind of feel like these aspects are typically slightly more feminine, especially the way the hair is going. It's not exactly, it could be anything. I have no idea. I've had long hair myself. It doesn't really indicate anything too specific. I don't really know, but I'm just, trying to find something among this, shadowy image here. The reason I think the fourth one has more of a case to be Winter Soldier is not only because, Alpine the cat is just amazing, what a thing to give the character, but you can kind of trace the outline of the arm a bit at the corner, and I think it sets a broader shoulder, and they usually do a 50-50 male-female split. Not always, but I do think if this one is male and the Sam Wilson one that I think is Sam Wilson is male, then I think this one would have to be probably a female character. So that's just kind of the things I'm looking at here. But it's very ambiguous, so I'm not 100% sure. And if you were to argue against that, fair play. I mean, you could well be very correct. So this is not a hill I will die on, I will say that. Now, what I noticed in the, the left silhouette here, the sort of unknown one, is that I think there's a chance this could be Kate Bishop. Now, hear me out. I zoomed in on the lower kind of part of this, and this is what I'm looking at. There's this kind of ambiguous curve coming from sort of below the knee, and somewhere above the knee, there's a solid kind of line. There is something, and it could be a continuation from that. It could be at the bottom, the curve of the bow, and then higher up, sort of, straighter part of the bow. Now, the example image here, it's really hard to find examples of Kate Bishop with a bow. All the bows are different. None of them fit perfectly. But it could just be artist sort of interpretation. But that was one idea I had. I do think if I look at just that curve below the knee on its own, I do think there is maybe a world where it looks maybe more like some kind of cloth or something, just kind of hanging down. But it could be a bow at an angle. And I do think if you look where the top bit where I say, there's that sort of straight line with the, the upper arrow, I do think you can kind of see here, there's almost this like yellow bit here, like the silhouette isn't complete. I don't know if that's just, an accident or shadow, or if maybe this is like a bit of a break here, which means this wouldn't be a continuation of the bow, that actually there is a tiny, tiny gap here. So I don't know if it would be Kate Bishop. I don't know if that matches. I don't know if it's somebody else with a bow at all. But that was where my brain went first of all. And it might be because I, thought the cat was a quiver of arrows. But that was one of my ideas, and I quite like it, because I would love some new arrow support for Hawkeye. I think that could be really fun to tie something in there. So we'll see. One of the other clues in the silhouette is the hand, but I don't know what this is. He's clearly holding something. I can't tell, if part of the bumps on that, if one of them might be her fingers or something. I can't tell what it is. Is it some kind of device? Is it Daredevil's hero pack? Let me know in the comments what you think it is. And yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but it could tell us something if we could see what it was, Fantasy Flight Games, can you tease what is in this hand? So I did a poll a little while ago on YouTube when we first got the teaser, asking people who they would like to see in Marvel Champions in the Shield wave, and we got some interesting sort of votes on there for the characters I put up. So let's take a look at that. We've got Quake, who actually won by a decent little majority, and Mockingbird, who had a very strong showing as well. So I think both of those could be contenders. So we'll go and take a look at those. Also, Howard the Duck, classic Shield character. And I really think, Quake and Mockingbird have a good chance, but there's also a couple of others as well. I'm going to start with some of the more outside choices first of all. I've heard, because the Web Warrior wave was split up, maybe we'll get Spider-Girl or Silk. And it could be, I don't know, I think it's, possible. But for me, I'm not quite convinced. But, hey, it could be, and I would be happy to have either of the more Web Warrior stuff would be amazing. One that sprang to my mind was, in the Web Warrior wave, we had to split up with some champions. Could we have another champion and maybe bring some android support with Vivian? Because she has that, that kind of flowing outfit that could pull at the bottom here. But something I should say is that all these silhouettes are likely to be their alter egos. That's what they did with the Age of Apocalypse silhouettes. So I don't know if sort of her hero outfit is going to be, shown here at all. And the hair is, very different length. But, the female characters in the Marvel tend to have their hair fly to very different lengths quite often. You should look at Shadowcat's signature cards and see how many different styles you can find there. So I don't know how much of an indication that is or not. I don't know what she'd be holding. I don't think it is her, but I thought it was interesting. More likely, maybe, could be Quake or Mockingbird, as I said. Quake is actually, gets her powers from being an Inhuman, apparently, which is extremely interesting because we have Inhuman stuff in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. box. Immediately, that makes me think, yeah, it's Quake. And she did actually win the popularity poll. I haven't really watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. much. I tried it very recently because people, said I should after the teaser. Didn't really gel with it, I'm going to be honest. But people seem to really like this, and I think the idea of her powers is interesting. Avenger, S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhuman, everything is lining up with everything else we're maybe seeing here. So I think that could be really exciting. Her powers would be very unique. We don't have anyone else with, sort of the shaking, sort of earthquakey vibration powers. So yeah, could be awesome. Mockingbird is another strong contender. Avenger, S.H.I.E.L.D., everything matches up here as well. But I don't know if she's going to make the cut over certain other characters. Quake, I feel like, in hindsight, maybe is the more likely option, but I'd be very happy with Mockingbird as well. The other ideas I see floating around for this is that it could be Black Widow or maybe White Widow, Yelena, and I think that's very possible. And I had to look up the rules for this a lot, because would they release a, villain Yelena and then a hero pack Yelena? Would they do that in the same wave? They have never done that before, but they have done it a wave or two apart with, Nebula and Magneto, so not impossible at all. And I've also heard people say, can you, use Natasha against the Black Widow villain that they've, announced for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And I went on a rules journey. This is how I found the thing for, Captain America, that quote, because the unique icon doesn't actually really ever seem to affect the villain. And that means the heroes and the villain, I think, can actually line up. So here I've put on the screen some of the unique sort of rule text, and I've got some more as well. And I'm not going to read the whole thing out because, that's boring. But it says players, player, identity. Nothing at all about the villain, being involved. Then it says identities, alter ego, allies, ally. Nowhere else are villains mentioned at all in any other stuff. I can look at the rest of it here, and it says hero, ally, alter ego, deck building. Nothing again about the villain. And then it says minions, minion, character. Now, the character does mean that if a minion is revealed with the same name as a character, the villain, then the minion is basically gets discarded, and then you get a new encounter card. So yes, that does interact with the villain, but any minions are interacting with the villain so far. And the final bit says minion, character, minion. It's basically the same thing. Minion cannot be put into play while another character with the same name is out. So if the villain, Nebula is out, the Nebula minion cannot come into play. So nothing says heroes with a unique sort of title interact with villains with a unique title. Absolutely nothing in the rules that I can see under this entry. If they've hidden it away into some other entry, I'd be very sad. But I've looked at the unique rules. I've read it multiple times. It seems legit. It sounds to me actually like you can have Venom against Venom, Nebula against Nebula. If you can see something different, let me know. But for me, the only thing that interacts with unique villains that I can see at all here are minions. So yeah, that's pretty exciting for Black Widow. So actually, I think that could be a strong contender. This means that the Yelena Black Widow or the Natasha Black Widow could fight the Black Widow villain, as far as I can see it. And if it works, Black Widow would actually be the perfect place, or White Widow, to bring more preparation cards as well, that kind of thing. We could have a kind of a new version of Black Widow. I would like different interaction with preparations rather than just iterating exactly on the same way, but I think that could be really fun. Agent 13, another spy. I don't really know what would make her unique. I think all the other choices we've seen so far are more unique than her, but I think she's pretty awesome. I don't actually know a lot about her in the comics, so I could be mistaken. So let me know, but I feel like it's a card game for mechanics that are going to stand out and, help with the design and things. I feel like she's maybe the lowest one on my radar right now. So ultimately, the characters I think are maybe most likely for this are Quake, because, Inhuman, Avenger, and S.H.I.E.L.D., and, won my poll of a few characters, not everyone. But I really do think, that could be a bow. I'm very hopeful for Kate Bishop. I actually loved the Hawkeye show against all my expectations. I thought that was really good, and I really like the, the way all that went. So I think that's possible. So I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. And I'm pretty happy with any of these, I will say. Even, even Howard the Duck, I think maybe that's not hair, maybe it's a beak. You guys can see it, right? But yeah, we'll see how we go with that. In terms of aspect speculation, I'm just going to throw it out there that I think Shuri will have protection just because Black Panther's precon in, the core set is protection. And I don't really think it suits the other characters too much either. I think leadership for, Sam Wilson, because not only is the Falcon allied leadership, but Captain America is on, the Power of Leadership card. I think it makes so much sense. If this is Winter Soldier, then I think aggression makes sense because, weapons go pew. I just think that makes an incredible amount of sense for that. And that really just leaves Justice left over for the slot that it seems that a lot of S.H.I.E.L.D. sort of agents could fill. And that just fits Justice perfectly, right? It's the kind of, reason Nick Fury has it, or Black Widow came with it, that kind of thing. Or Miles Morales' Spider-Man precon, which was S.H.I.E.L.D. based, was Justice. So that's kind of how I see it. Let me know what you think, guys. Personally, I'm really excited for these characters. I am honestly just really intrigued. The way they say Maria Hill's role as a director influences her playstyle, not just her deck building, her playstyle makes me think we're going to have some really deep interaction with the S.H.I.E.L.D. cards. Nick Fury's stealth suit, then all of these characters that have been, silhouettes could be really, really unique as well. So I have no notes in terms of excitement, so I'm actually really pleased about this. I'm really pleased about, we're definitely getting someone with some Avenger traits. I feel like this is almost 100% guaranteed, and that means we might get new Avenger support, which makes me incredibly happy, as they still actually do outnumber the mutant heroes, I believe, even if it's got fairly close nowadays. So getting some more support for Avengers is going to help a ton of heroes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing to the channel. And yeah, Agent Villain Theory out. See you next time.